President Donald Trump and congressional Democrats appear to move closer to an agreement to extend protections for so-called Dreamers on Wednesday night. And Democratic leaders said Trump agreed not to push for a border wall as part of that deal. Dropping the demand for a border wall could make it easier for Republicans and Democrats to reach a deal on DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which protects undocumented immigrants brought into the country as children. But a key detail of an agreement, first announced by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi after a dinner with the president, quickly became a matter of dispute. The Democratic leaders said it included an agreement to work out a package of border security, excluding the wall, that's acceptable to both sides. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said on Twitter while DACA and border security were both discussed, excluding the wall was certainly not agreed to. Earlier Wednesday, White House Legislative Affairs Director Mark Short told an industry trade group that the border wall does not have to be a part of an agreement on DACA. One attendee at the meeting said, "The Trump administration announced last week that the Obama-era program would end in 6 months. Trump said as part of the announcement that I am not going to just cut DACA off, but rather provide a window of opportunity for Congress to finally act. Ending DACA could affect as many as an estimated 800,000 people. The program allows undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as children to remain and get work permits in the country." Sources told NBC News that Schumer and Pelosi told Trump they are prepared to deliver votes on a measure that would pair the existing DREAM Act bill text with additional border security that does not include the border wall funding. Specifics on what type and level of border security were not disclosed. The DREAM Act would have offered those who came to the U.S. illegally as children the opportunity to potentially gain permanent legal residency. The act was first introduced in August 2001 by Senator Orrin Hatch, R. Utah, and Dick Durbin, D.L. It has resurfaced several times, always failing to get through Congress. Pelosi and Schumer said in the joint statement, "We had a very productive meeting at the White House with the president. The discussion focused on DACA. We agreed to enshrine the protections of DACA into law quickly, and to work out a package of border security, excluding the wall, that's acceptable to both sides." Sources said the president wants this done fast, referring to a resolution to the DACA program. Moving anything requires the Republican leadership to push any bills to a vote. After Huckabee Sanders' tweet, a spokesman for Schumer said on Twitter the president made clear he would continue pushing the wall, just not as part of this agreement. House Speaker Paul Ryan, R-Whisk, suggested last week that the issue could be tied to Trump's pledge for a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. "It's only reasonable and fitting that we also address the root cause of the problem, which is borders that are not sufficiently controlled, while we address this very real and very human problem that's right in front of us," Ryan said on September 6. Some criticized the reported agreement. Republican Rep. Steve King of Iowa, referring to a tweet about the agreement by the Associated Press, said on Twitter, "If AP is correct, Trump base is blown up, destroyed, irreparable, and disillusioned beyond repair. No promise is credible." Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona tweeted his support to Trump for pursuing agreement that will protect Dreamers from deportation. A White House official said Wednesday night that President Donald Trump had a constructive working dinner with Senate and House minority leaders, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, as well as administration officials, to discuss policy and legislative priorities, which included DACA. This is a positive step toward the president's strong commitment to bipartisan solutions for the issues most important to all Americans, the White House official said. The administration looks forward to continuing these conversations with leadership on both sides of the aisle. If an agreement on DACA was struck, it would be the latest instance of Trump reaching across the aisle to Democrats in search of a legislative achievement. The president struck a deal with Schumer and Pelosi last week that combines disaster aid for those affected by Hurricane Harvey with measures to keep the government open and extend the debt ceiling for 3 months. Some Republicans were left upset at that deal.
This morning, Pablo Garcia rushed to make an impromptu stop before his first class at Cal State Fullerton. Like 900 of the 40,000 students on campus here, Pablo is a dreamer, brought to the U.S. from Mexico illegally when he was 5. And at the school's resource center dedicated to undocumented immigrants, he heard from the Attorney General what he feared most.
DACA is being rescinded.
How do you process the idea of leaving here and having to one day go there, maybe within 6 months from now?
It's just heartbreaking that, I know I could be deported anytime, within 6 months or after the 6 months. It's unknown. I'm really usually not afraid of the unknown, but this unknown it's shocking.
Shocking in part because Pablo, like so many others, must now juggle the possibility of deportation with his other daily responsibilities. And today, that's his biology lab.
You have to go here to your biology classroom, 363 at Cal State Fullerton. I mean, how do you process your normal day-to-day life when it's in the context of all this?
I have to stay strong, remain strong, especially for my siblings.
Pablo wasn't born here, but his 5 younger siblings were, making them American citizens not subject to deportation.
Just because you weren't born here, you're not treated the same. You don't have the same privileges. But yeah, you do have to pay, taxes, but we don't get treated the same.
For a generation of immigrants, everyday life now interrupted, and a 6-month countdown begins. Jacob Soboroff, NBC News.
In North Dakota tonight, President Trump vowed to unveil new details about his tax reform plan over the next 2 weeks as political drama erupted within his own party. The president met with congressional leaders this morning, where he broke with the GOP and sided with Democrats on a bill that provides hurricane relief, raises the debt limit, and funds the government for 3 months. At issue, Republicans wanted a longer deal on the debt limit, 18 months through the midterm elections, but Democrats refused. Some Republicans on Capitol Hill say he defied the party by striking a deal with Democrats.
That is just false. There's no deal struck with Democrats. This is a deal on behalf of the American people.
So why did the president do it? Tonight, a senior administration official tells NBC News the president wanted to move quickly on hurricane relief, and after health care reform failed, realized he may need Democrats to get things done in Washington. Today, claiming victory.
And everybody was happy. Not too happy, because you can never be too happy.
One senior Republican congressional source privately tells NBC News they felt blindsided. And even before the deal was struck, House Speaker Paul Ryan lashed out at Democrats.
I think that's ridiculous and disgraceful that they want to play politics with the debt ceiling at this moment.
Looming over all of it, the president's controversial decision to end DACA in 6 months, unless Congress can come up with a fix. After fierce backlash, the president tweeting, "If Congress doesn't legalize DACA, I will revisit this issue."
Did you mean when you said you wanted to revisit the issue in 6 months?
Well, I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens in Congress. I have a feeling that's not going to be necessary. I think they're going to make a deal.
The president taking heat on all sides from Democrats.
President Trump's decision to end DACA is a despicable act of political cowardice.
And those on the far right.
They came here to live in the shadows. And we're not denying them that opportunity to live in the shadows.
Kristen Welker, NBC News, the White House.